Welcome back to ViralVault, where folk horror whispers through the trees, supernatural thrillers stalk your sleep, and slashers carve their way into legend. Some stories bleed with cosmic dread, others laugh while they kill, and a few, they never really end. Tonight, we sit at the wrong table, where the first cut of meat is not what it seems. Number 1. The Feast, 2021. A folk horror dinner served cold, where the main course is you. Lee Haven Jones directs this nightmare with a scalpel, carving politeness into pure dread. Ann's Elwee drifts in as the mysterious guest, silent, unsettling, watching the wealthy hosts tear themselves apart. Every sound is amplified, wine pouring feels like blood dripping, chewing echoes like bones breaking. And then, the glass shatters. This isn't just a meal, it's a ritual, a slow psychological horror that gnaws under your skin. For me, it's a 9 out of 10, a banquet of unease best watched alone at 2 a.m. But the hunger doesn't stop here. The next story tastes of family, aging, and something older than death itself. Number 2. The Grandmother, 2021. A supernatural thriller where age itself becomes a predator waiting in the dark. Paco Plaza, the director behind Wreck, brings a quieter horror that feels like rot spreading. Almadina Amor plays a model who returns to care for her grandmother. Vera Valdez, whose frail frame hides a monstrous secret. Every room breathes with dust. Every mirror shows too much. And then, the old woman smiles. It is a psychological horror disguised as family duty, where love curdles into terror. For me, this is an 8 out of 10. Slow, unnerving, and perfect for a sleepless night. But the next nightmare is not about age. It's about youth corrupted, pixels dripping blood, and desire turning digital. Number 3. Plagiarism, 2020. A psychological thriller where neon screens flicker, and flesh melts into fantasy.
Why not?
Jem Deeger doesn't just direct this film. He lives inside it, starring as a teen swallowed by a surreal virtual world. Alongside Austin Chun, the story twists into erotic body horror, where violence and lust share the same bed. Colors pulse, skin glitches, reality stutters. And then, the body splits. It's not horror for everyone, but for those who dare, it's a fever dream you can't shake. For me, it's a 7.5 out of 10, best watched with the lights low and your sanity questioned. Next comes laughter, but it bleeds. Number 4. Continuance, 2021. A slasher comedy, where grocery shopping ends with more than broken eggs. Tony Olmos directs a twisted parody of suburbia collapsing, with Tony Gorodekas as a serial killer shopping like nothing's wrong. His wife and maid tag along, oblivious, or maybe not. Every aisle feels absurd, but the knives stay sharp. And then, the bag rips open. The comedy lands awkward and grotesque, a reminder that even in recession, death still pays in full. For me, it's a 6.5 out of 10. Funny in bursts, chilling in shadows, best with friends who laugh at gore. But what if laughter stops, and a demon speaks instead? Number 5. Karam the Possession, 2021. A supernatural horror where disbelief itself invites the demon closer to your bed. Henry Bedwell directs with an eye for suffocating dread. Raquel Rodriguez becomes the vessel, a young girl in a family too stubborn to believe in evil. That's the tragedy. The door stays open because no one admits it exists. And then, her eyes roll back. Classic possession tropes pulse with fresh unease, carried by the raw fear of the performances. For me, it's a 7 out of 10. A chilling reminder that atheism doesn't close every door. Best watched on a stormy night. But storms fade, time itself is the next curse. Number 6. The Long Walk, 2022. A psychological horror where time travel is less gift, more wound. Maddie Du weaves a haunting loud tale, with Yanawauthi Chanthalungzi as a man walking through decades of regret. He can see the dead, speak to them, move through time like a ghost with a broken compass. The jungle breathes around him, but every step returns him to grief. And then, the child cries again. This is not jump scares, but a dreamlike horror about the weight of memory and inevitability. For me, it's an 8.5 out of 10. Deeply moving, terrifying in its inevitability. Best watched alone, headphones on. But the next journey leads to mercenaries, guns, and something waiting in the dark earth. Number 7. Saloom, 2021. An action horror where mercenaries run from bullets, straight into the supernatural. Jean-Luc Herbelot blends genres like a fever. Jan Gale and Mentor Ba lead the hyenas, mercenaries hiding in Senegal's wetlands, only to find their pasts waiting. The gunfire is loud, but the whispers are louder. And then, the sand moves. What begins as a crime thriller slides into a supernatural thriller that feels mythic, cinematic, unstoppable. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. Bold, stylish, unforgettable. Best watched with adrenaline still pumping. But adrenaline burns fast. What happens when the evil doesn't hide? It spreads like infection? Number 8. When Evil Lurks, 2023. A supernatural horror where infection isn't disease, it's the devil itself. Damien Rugna directs with cruelty sharpened to a knife edge. Ezekiel Rodriguez and Damian Solomon play brothers stumbling upon the rotting core of a possession spreading through their village. Every rule of exorcism is broken here, because the evil is already too deep. Children scream, animals convulse, neighbors turn into husks. And then, the gun goes off. This is horror without mercy. A community devoured from within, and the audience chained to watch. For me, it's a 9.5 out of 10. A masterpiece of dread, best watched with someone you trust. But trust is fragile, and the next gathering offers no comfort, only an artifact waiting to open. Number 9. The Viewing, 2022. A psychological thriller where curiosity doesn't kill the cat, it kills everyone. Panos Cosmatos paints with neon and paranoia. Peter Weller invites Eric Andre and others into his lair to view a strange artifact. The setting oozes retro-futuristic dread, like Kubrick on hallucinogens. And then, the thing breathes. It is sci-fi horror at its most stylish, mixing cosmic unease with sudden carnage. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. Hypnotic, unnerving, unforgettable, best paired with midnight and silence. But silence is broken in the woods, where a killer waits with a stolen necklace. And no escape. Number 10. In a Violent Nature, 2024. A slasher horror where the forest itself sharpens the blade against you. Chris Nash strips slasher cinema down to bone and blood. The killer doesn't run, doesn't hide, he stalks with inevitability, like gravity pulling his victims. The stolen necklace is his anchor, his excuse, his ritual of murder. And then, the head comes off. It's brutal, deliberate, unflinching, a supernatural thriller that feels less like a movie and more like being hunted. For me, it's a 9 out of 10. Pure slasher horror, terrifying in its patience. Best watched in the dark, far from trees. And when it ends, do you really think he stays buried? This was ViralVault, where folk horror feasts, supernatural thrillers whisper, cult classics grin, psychological horror twists, slashers carve, and cosmic horror seeps in. Every story lingers, like something behind you that refuses to leave. So tell me, which nightmare follows you into sleep tonight?